Welcome to my DPPOU battle. My team is in the description as well as the battle log. Crobat will use U-turn, so it doesn't make sense to stay and use Thunderbolt. Instead, I can choose who my lead will be, and Jirachi seems to be good in general. I need to switch into Blissey. Elliot knew that Jirachi wouldn't stay, so he uses the turn to set up Stealth Rock. Heatran has done its job. There is no reason for Heatran to stay, and it's too early to boom. I use Thunder Wave as it's likely to cripple the incoming physical attacker. I switch in my best response to Tyranitar, which is Machamp. I know that Tyranitar will not stay, but at the moment the best thing I can do is to chase my opponent around and search for an opportunity to set up my Stealth Rock. Reverse damage calc reveals that Tyranitar doesn't have Chase Band. I can either hit Rotom with Payback or switch into Blissey. I don't want to reveal Shadow Ball yet. I'm choosing between Seismictos and Thunder Wave, and I use Thunder Wave because it does at least something in case Rotom stays in. I can afford one more Machamp switch in before I use rest. Again, there is no reason to believe that Tyranitar will stay in. It can still do harm to me even though it's paralyzed. Clearly, opponent's Heatran wouldn't be a safe switch in, so I see an opportunity window to go back to Jirachi and use Stealth Rock. However, it is now more important to heal Machamp. Unfortunately, Crobat is faster than Jirachi and can use Taunt. On the positive side, there isn't much that Crobat can actually do to Jirachi, so I think it's worth giving it a try. Elliot knows that I might predict Taunt and use Body Slam. Then it would be really bad for Crobat to stay in, because it would get paralyzed with 60% probability and paralyzed Crobat would be useless for the rest of the battle. Elliot U-turns to Starmie. That's a great move because Starmie can easily absorb Body Slam, and if I use Stealth Rock, Starmie can clear it with Rapid Spin. Elliot was clearly testing me, but since my Jirachi doesn't have U-turn, I didn't even have the opportunity to make the mistake and get paralyzed. Paralysis on Blissey is irrelevant, as well as potential paralysis on Starmie, because both Blissey and Starmie have natural cure. Now we have the first peaceful moment in the battle. Neither Blissey nor Starmie can make any progress in the battle when they are facing each other. Let's look at the big picture. My team is fully healthy, except for Machamp being asleep, and Elliot's team is fully healthy, except for Tyranitar being paralyzed. Even though paralysis on Tyranitar is more inconvenient, I'd say that Elliot's situation is slightly better. Elliot successfully set up Stealth Rock and cleared mine. If I set up Stealth Rock again, Elliot will clear it again, because I currently have no way of threatening his Starmie. I also have Starmie in the back, but as long as Elliot has both Heatran and Rotom at full health, there's no point in me even trying to Rapid Spin. At this point, Elliot has revealed all moves on his Starmie. Thunder Wave, Rapid Spin, Recover, Surf. As a result, I can now make a better judgment about which Pokémon to send in. It turns out that the best option is my Breloom. Starmie will not use Thunder Wave in this turn and other moves cannot harm it in any way. The battle will become easier for me now when Toxic Orb gets activated. In this turn I might double switch, but it's better to keep a Breloom in so it heals some damage. I already know that the Rotom has leftovers, so it's 100% safe to send in Blissey. Elliot sends in Crobat. I don't think it was an attempt to double switch, rather he wanted to threaten Breloom by Brave Bird. I predict Taunt, so I use Seismictos. There's an opportunity to send Jirachi in again. Since Starmie left the battlefield with only 51% health, Stealth Rock has suddenly a power to mess up Elliot's team. However, Crobat uses U-turn and Heatran scares Jirachi away. I know that Heatran will not stay, so I use Soft Violet. Tyranitar is going to scare Blissey away again, and it's always better to leave the battlefield with full health. Because Earthquake is very unlikely to come, I send in Jirachi again. With Jirachi, I'd much rather use Wish than Stealth Rock. Unfortunately, I know that Tyranitar will switch into something that will scare Chirashi away, and I don't have Protect, so I use Stealth Rock to have at least some effect. Elliot sends in Starmie and uses the opportunity to both recover and Rapid Spin. In retrospect, sending in Blissey was too passive. I should have gone to Breloom. Overall, the situation looks quite good for me, but it's becoming apparent that I need to heal Jirachi as soon as possible. Not gonna lie, I'm not happy to see that Flygon is the last Pokémon. I make a desperate guess that Flygon values Earthquake, and I decide to reveal my Starmie. Unfortunately, Flygon uses Outrage. I infer that Flygon probably has Choice Scarf. It would be foolish to stay with Starmie and try to one-hit knockout Flygon using Ice Beam. I can still save the day, but both Starmie and Jirachi will come out of it on low health. And now comes my worst misplay of this match. Note that Flygon didn't get confused at the end of the turn. I should have used the information that Outrage will be used for the third time. This could give me 2 safe turns to use Wish. In the first turn, Flygon would repeat Outrage. In the second turn, Flygon would be switching out and Wish would land on Jirachi. And even if Flygon decided to stay in and repeat Outrage and didn't get hurt in confusion, it would still be completely safe for Jirachi. Unfortunately, I made the stupid move to use Stealth Rock, which wasted the opportunity. 1 turn later, Wish is no longer an option, so I use Body Slam. With Starmie temporarily paralyzed, it's clear that Elliot will have to switch out Starmie and try again later. Hence, I don't know what I was trying to accomplish with Breloom. Breloom didn't heal any health, Breloom didn't make any move and had to switch out again. Had Blissey come in during turn 33 instead of Breloom, it would heal in turn 34, and Elliot wouldn't get a free switch in turn 35. With Blissey facing Tyranitar again, it's hard to get out of the situation without losing a Pokémon. Fortunately, Machamp is on full health again, and even though it is sleeping, it is a viable switch-in. Now the task is to survive 2 turns until I can use Rest again. In the meanwhile, I threaten the opponent with Sleep Talk. It is nevertheless a hard task to survive 2 turns with Machamp, because it lost half of its HP from Superpower, and Sandstorm makes it even harder. I go to Blissey again because it would be too much to get hit by Thunderbolt or Shadow Ball. I could say that the operation was successful. I didn't lose any Pokémon, Blissey didn't get hurt, and now I can freely choose between healing Blissey to full health and threatening next Elliot's switch in. In reality, the resulting situation is pretty bad for me, yet another of my Pokémon is below 50% of health. I am short on defensive switch-ins. Machamp is at 45%, Jirachi is at 37%, and Starmie is only at 26% of its health. Then there is Zapdos, but Zapdos is not a great switch-in before I remove Stealth Rock, and it doesn't look like I will be able to remove Stealth Rock anytime soon. What remains is Breloom and Blissey, both of which are above 60% of health. But I will not be able to switch between Blissey and Breloom for long. Back to the present moment, I decided to use Seismic Toss, predicting Tyranitar. Sadly, Starmie came in, probably expecting me to use Soft Boiled. If I used Shadow Ball, which Elliot didn't know about, I would kill Starmie. Unfortunately, I used Seismic Toss. This was a huge missed opportunity. Eliminating Starmie would allow me to preserve Stealth Rock, and the whole situation would be much more favorable as a result. And here we go, Flygon threatens me again. Fortunately, it lost HP on switch in, so it might be one of the last episodes featuring Flygon. This time, I have much less options for switching in than I had last time. On the other hand, I have one important thing, information. I know that Flygon does not have Choice Band. This means that Blissey can safely stay in, as long as it's soft boiled since the first turn already. I can keep Blissey facing Flygon for one turn. Flygon will do something. I will learn what the move is, and I will heal the damage Flygon did to Blissey. Then I can decide how to continue. If Flygon uses Outrage, I will go to Jirachi. If Flygon uses Earthquake, Blissey can stay in, accumulate health, and later strike with Seismic Toss. If Flygon uses U-turn, Elliott's new Pokémon will face Blissey with full health. And if Flygon uses something else like Thunder Punch, my situation will be even better. So I select Soft Boiled and see it is Outrage. I switch to Jirachi and I hope that Outrage will last for 3 turns again, so that this time I will not miss the opportunity to heal Jirachi using Wish. Unfortunately, Flygon got confused after 2 repetitions, so I didn't get the second chance. The best healing I can afford is to stay for one more turn of leftovers and do something random in the meanwhile, like use Body Slam again. Blissey is the safe switch-in against Rotom. And now, it is the highest time to reveal that Blissey knows Shadow Ball. Unfortunately, the good damage done to Rotom will be good for nothing, because every non-chased Rotom knows either Rest or Pain Split. Either way, a Rotom will be able to live on Blissey almost forever. Burned Blissey means that I'm wasting my soft-boiled PPs even though I can keep Blissey alive against Rotom. Hence, it's time to switch. This might be a time to heal Jirachi. Elliott simultaneously switches to Tyranitar. This isn't bad though. Iron Head is extremely dangerous to paralyze Tyranitar. I have 70% chance to prevent its move and thus to 2-hit knockout Tyranitar using Iron Head. Well, we are at Jirachi against Rotom as I intended. Rotom will now sleep for 2 turns. Time to use Wish. If I get lucky, Sleep Talk will not call Will-O-Wisp or it will miss. Well, I didn't get lucky. Despite of that burn, given how dire my situation with switch-ins was, it might be still better to have Jirachi with 50% more health even though it comes at the price of burn. Now when I'm burned, it's probably better to use a second Wish to heal a few more HP because Rotom cannot do anything major to me now. There will be few more turns of battle before we start exchanging materials. Let's go quickly over them. We are at the fateful situation again, Blissey facing Tyranitar. This time, Elliott surprised me a lot. Tyranitar used Pursuit, which I didn't expect. As a result, I can easily lose both Blissey and Starmie in this maneuver. For the first time, Tyranitar is fully paralyzed. This partially alleviates this hopeless situation. In the end, Starmie was exchanged for Tyranitar and Blissey was significantly damaged. 34% is not enough when Stealth Rock and Sunstorm are present. As a consequence, I will not be able to switch in Blissey. Instead, I will have to sacrifice something in order to get Blissey back to game. It turns out that thing is Machamp. Blissey can now come in and use Soft Boiled. I expect Taunt, so I use Seismic Toss on Crobat. Now it is 4-5, but 2 Pokémon of Elliott are at a relatively low health, Starmie and Flygon. In spite of Stealth Rock, I try to switch in Zapdos. I attempt to predict Flygon coming into Thunderbolt, and I use Hidden Power Ice. Unfortunately, Rotom comes in and I must draw back. Next Zapdos switch in will be very risky. You can see that this match has been very intense. Even though no Pokémon of either player got knocked out during the first 64 turns of the battle, almost every turn mattered a lot. In almost every situation, one of the players was at the risk of losing something from which he would not recover. We kept balancing with balance versus balance for 64 turns until we started eliminating each other's Pokémon. We quickly skim over the next few turns which weren't so interesting, until a new difficult situation emerges. We can see that Stealth Rock on my side will stay for the rest of the battle. Elliot just managed to remove Stealth Rock from his side, permanently. And here comes Heatran. Heatran is mysterious because it has revealed only two moves so far, Overheat and Stealth Rock. From the beginning, I've been expecting Heatran to eventually explode. Someone might argue that since Heatran hasn't exploded yet, even though it has faced Blissey several times before, Heatran probably doesn't know explosion. I don't think it is a sound argument. There wasn't the urgency yet, and it was always much better to preserve Heatran for later. But now, things have changed. Heatran is only one seismic toss away from the moment to use explosion. This begs the question, which of my Pokémon should become the victim to explosion? Since it is only 3 and 3 now, I should be able to already make a plan until the end of the battle. There are 6 options what I can do. I can sacrifice Blissey and send Jirachi. I can sacrifice Blissey and send Zapdos. I can sacrifice Zapdos and send Jirachi. I can sacrifice Zapdos and send Blissey. I can risk losing Jirachi and send Blissey, or I can risk losing Jirachi and send Zapdos. Is there any option that works both against Starmie and against Flygon? It turns out that the only option that gives me a nearly guaranteed win is to sacrifice Zapdos and send in Jirachi. Now we can see one scenario how the end play can go. I was right about the turn when Elliot uses Explosion, and I send in Jirachi as I planned. Let's go quickly over the end of the battle, because I already told you that I'm going to win, so there will be no surprise. Body Slam paralyzing Flygon made it even easier for me, but I would be able to win most of the time regardless. And here we have Blissey vs Starmie, which makes me win this very difficult match. How did you like the battle? Would you use different moves? Let me know in the comments.